Greetings. Welcome to my course, Reclaiming Womb Wellness. This course will be talking about building up womb wisdom through restoration, healing, and holistic wellness. I'm super excited that you're here, and I'm going to go ahead and take not too much of a stab in the dark, but I'm going to kind of speak to why you're here and how you found this course. I'm assuming that you're here because for way too long you have felt disconnected from your womb and from your body. You've carried the physical, spiritual, and emotional baggage of the traumas that you and or your maternal lineage have carried within the womb space. And you know that you're in need of this type of healing because it has shown up in reproductive imbalances and disorders, birth traumas that haven't been dealt with, dissatisfaction with your body, fear-led mothering of self and others. You found this course because you know that you're ready to heal on not just on a physical level, but spiritually, emotionally. You're ready to take that step to transformation and move in this knowingness that when you heal yourself, you're not only healing yourself, but you're also healing 7 generations of women, those who've come before you and those who are on their way through you. You know that deep down, and probably not even that deep, it's just right there on the surface. It's just trying to connect with it. But you know that health and wellness is your birthright and that you're ready to rebirth a life where you are in the center, that your wellness is prioritized, that your happiness and your joy is centered. And I'm here to support you in that. I'm here to heal with you through that. I'm here to make that birth that into a reality with you, and be a guide for that transformation. So the conditions of our womb statistically tell a story, right? So all these imbalances of our womb piece are pretty much messengers, right? So if you are experiencing PCOS or other chronic reproductive disorders, if you have periods and fibroids that are decreasing your satisfaction for life, irritation, anger, and burnout on a monthly basis, and sometimes even unknown womb and vulva and vaginal pains. These are all your body telling you there's an imbalance and there's change that needs to happen. And fortunately, we can heal from these things. We can look at these from a holistic point of view to create wellness within our life. So my name is Celeste. I am a womb healer, coach, and doula. I received my wellness coaching degree, wellness coaching for marginalized communities from Metro State University of Denver. Full spectrum doula with DONA, Colorado Doula Project, and Innate Postpartum. I'm a Yoni Steam practitioner as well as a Reiki master. And I always acknowledge who I've come from. So I'm the daughter of Kay Piggies and the niece of Jocelyn Olson, who are both daughters of Betty Crutch, who is the daughter of Helen Story, which is the daughter of Momsy. I wish I knew her name, but we lovingly called her Momsy. And I also just want to acknowledge the healers and the birth workers who have taught me their ways, Spirit who continues to guide my work, and the divine that moves through me. So womb wellness begins in the womb and spreads out from her center like branches of the tree. I love this because when women and people with wombs, when we heal our wombs, when we ground ourselves in our womb wellness, our entire life begins to be reborn and rebirthed. And like the saying says, it spreads out from our center like branches of a tree. And I'm really here to be that guide in that planting, that death, that rebirth, and that transformation. So there's a lot of people. I've been doing this work for about 5 years now, and I've come across a lot of myths around womb wellness and reclaiming our wombs. And so I kind of want to go through and kind of like speak to those myths and how we can reframe them and how they're kind of standing in the way of us reclaiming our womb wellness. So, birth control is the only way to heal my womb space, right? So, one of my teachers, Eutimia Montoya, says that there are spiritual connections to everything in the body because the body is messenger. So, when we're experiencing a lot of the imbalances, a lot of the ones that I was speaking of earlier in the course, a few pages back, um, those are communication, those are messengers that there's something isn't right, something is out of balance in the body. And honestly, birth control doesn't necessarily heal that. Birth control is really just quieting the messenger through our hormones. And one way that it's doing that is just by suppressing the hormones and sending our body into a state of menopause. And so, um, and especially depending on how long you've been on birth control, there is a detox process in removing birth control from the body if that's something that you want to do. Because some people take birth control and they're okay with, being disconnected, not wanting to have to listen to the messages and work through the root of our imbalances. And then there's some people who want to or need to because they're ready to get pregnant, or they're just kind of the birth control kind of added on to any of the imbalances that they're already experiencing, right? And so, if you do decide to remove birth control, there's going to be a detox process that can take on years, take up. So if you are one who has been on birth control and you decide that this birth control isn't for you anymore, um, you'll notice that once you get off the birth control, whatever your reason for being on birth control, if it was, of course, to prevent pregnancy, and we're talking about hormonal birth control. If you decide to get off of the birth control, that you'll notice that that ailment is still there. So it hasn't actually healed anything. It just covered it up. It just stopped the messenger, It just stopped that communication. I have spent so much time and money on diets that haven't truly supported my wellness goals. So a lot of my previous clients have come to me. I went vegan. I doing keto. I do, and all these like low carb, whatever, all these mainstream diets that they've wanted to get on to kind of like stop the to shrink fibroids, stop their period pain, and a lot of them still haven't seen the type of goals, at least when it comes to their womb wellness. They still haven't reached the goals that they've been wanting to with a lot of these mainstream toxic diets. And what the issue is that there's a lot of these diets don't take into consideration the various cycles that your hormones are going through, the various cycles that your womb is going through. And I will go deeper into the womb cycles a little later in the course. But essentially, your body is in need of different foods, different calories, different micronutrients based off of where you are in your month, right? And so a lot of these diets don't take into consideration that fact. They expect you to do the same diet for the rest of your life, and it can honestly be throwing off your hormones. It can also be disconnecting you from the natural cycles that your womb is going through. So and a lot of times this is all in the name of, colonial beauty standards and snapback culture and things like that, that are really affecting us psychologically and how we connect with our bodies. So you might be seeing benefits from the outside, but your womb condition could still possibly be suffering from these toxic diets. Your fertility goals seem out of reach. So y'all, we are the gatekeepers to life, especially our own. And if pregnancy is in your future, it's not for everyone, but if pregnancy is in your future, connecting back with your womb, spiritually, emotionally, physically, can help you reach your fertility goals. getting to the root of our imbalances can help with that. Even if you decide to go IVF or if you decide to go naturally, um, preparing the body holistically can support you in reaching your fertility goals. And your relationships aren't flourishing the way you want because of womb imbalances. Um, our wombs hold a lot of emotional baggage. And by relationships, I mean any type of relationship. I'm speaking to from our mother relationships, our relationships with our mother, because how our relationship with our mother is a huge thing, a mirror, I guess I should say, to how we mother ourselves, how we mother our own children. It's the mother code that is literally, there's a chromosome that's literally passed down through our womb. Um, when our mothers was in our mother and her mother's womb, we were in there too, growing in our mother's ovaries, right? So there's a current, an emotional, spiritual current between ourselves and our mothers and our foremothers, that we carry within our womb. I'm also talking about sexual romantic relationships. We carry those in our womb. And I'm not here to like a hotep or whatever saying like if you've experienced some type of negative relationship, it's your fault and you'll never heal from it. And not at all. What I'm saying is, no matter who you decide to be with, just know that there is a spiritual connection that you're creating with that person. And when we don't heal from that, if there is healing that needs to happen, it follows us, right? We're holding on to those things. And the biggest relationship that we want to focus on is our relationship with ourselves, right? That radical self-love. And when we have imbalances in our womb space, like the four that I spoke of earlier, that can affect how we relate to ourselves, how we feel about ourselves, and how we relate to others, right? So, when we're PMSing right before our cycle starts, we might not be at our best when it comes to our relationships, and that's okay, right? But when we know how to relate to ourselves when we're not feeling our best, we can know how to better relate to other people when we're in that space, how to set boundaries, how to let people know what to expect from us. So, when our wombs are restored through steady, unrelenting transformation of our thoughts, our hearts, our blood, then we are reborn. So, this is the meat and bones of this course right now. How do we restore our wombs and how can we be reborn? So, restoring our wombs looks like honoring our internal cycles, building a deeper emotional intelligence through self reflection, daily rituals that support your wellness goals, non toxic lifestyle choices, and earth womb medicine. So I'm going to dive into what all that means for you. So honoring our internal cycles. So the world, and that's one of the beautiful things about women and people with wombs, is that we are cyclic, just like literally everything else in the universe. So we think of cycles of um, spring, summer, fall, winter. We think of the moon cycles, the full moon, new moon, waning, and waxing moon. And then we can also talk about our internal cycles that I brought up earlier, when we're on our period to the follicular phase, the luteal phase, or excuse me, follicular to ovulation to the luteal phase. These are all cycles that we go through, and they're all connected in a beautiful way, right? They're all serendipitous. And so when we honor our internal cycles, we can kind of we're honoring ourselves, we're honoring the earth around us, and we're connecting deeper to ourselves into the world around us, right? So even though there's a couple ways that you can look at how our internal cycles are connected to the outer cycles, I'm going to narrow it down to our inner moon and the outer moon. So the solar moon, the the universal moon, I guess, and our internal moon. So we have 4 cycles, and there's 4 cycles of the moon. We have that the beginning of our cycle is our period, and that is connected with our new moon. And it's connected to the outer new moon. So some people notice that they have their period around the new moon during that time. If you don't, if you have your period around the full moon or the waning waxing, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Some people do notice that when they do start to tune into their own internal cycles, it just naturally starts to get pulled and um, begin to cycle with the outer moon. And some people don't, and that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. It's just something that people have noticed. So our period is our inner new moon. It's the beginning of a cycle. It's newness. It's starting over. Our period is a detoxing, letting go, releasing. Our period is like it's literally a detox. It's our blood is releasing the things that no longer are serving us in our bodies, and the new moon essentially is doing that too on a on a more macro cycle level, right? Where during the new moon is a time where we're setting new intentions, releasing things that didn't work for us, before. It's a time to kind of go within. It's also the dark moon, right? It's a dark period for us. There's not a lot of light. It's kind of like we're going internally, right? During your period, you find that you are probably not really ready to go out to the club like that. You know what I mean? You don't want to, you probably find that you don't really want to be around people like that. You want to just kind of be with yourself. You want to be internal. So that's how how our period and our new moon are connected. So some self-care practices that you can do on your period that connect with the new moon is, going to sleep a little earlier or sleeping in, one of the two, just getting more rest during that time. Journaling is a really great one to do. Um, if we're going to bring in a different cycle, our period is also kind of like the winter time. So your hormones have gone completely down. Your body is in a state of coldness. So during this time, eating warm foods help. I know a lot of people like to sit in, take hot baths, drink hot tea, eat soup during that time, and, get cuddled up, curled in, stay home. So these are some things that you would do during your period and your new moon to kind of like honor your internal cycle. The next one is the follicular phase. So from the period, we go into our follicular phase, and our follicular phase is correlated to the waxing moon. So the new moon, you don't see it; it's dark, but you start just like over the next week or so, next 2 weeks, you'll notice that it starts to get bigger and bigger, right? So the follicular, your hormones are starting to come back up again. You'll notice that like from the new moon, because you were so completely burned out from your period, you notice that your energy is coming back. This is your inner spring. You're starting to like feel more masculine energy come through. This is kind of where like that yang energy comes through for us. So ways that you can honor your internal cycles through the follicular phases. If you're one who likes to exercise and get out, this is the best time to start slowly building up like cardio. This is a great time to start doing heavy lifting, things like that. Going for bike rides, walking, cardio is really great during this time, during the follicular phase and your inner waxing moon. After the follicular phase comes ovulation. So once you're ovulating, you're at the peak. This is the time for those who are trying to get pregnant. This is usually the time that you're going to want to like start to have more sex during this time. And you'll notice that you're more in the mood, right? Everything, the full moon it's wide, it's expansive, it's big. Your energy might feel wide, expansive, big. Even our vaginas actually during that time, our cervix moves up higher in the vagina, and our vaginal canal might feel wider, wetter, moister. You might feel more open to socializing during this time. So one way that you can honor your internal cycles during ovulation is, this is for like, say, for work or even social. This is a time that you like want to be out, maybe go on a date, maybe do those set up meetings during this time. So if you have a job that, you might have to have meetings with people or socialize more. If you're like a salesperson, if you're selling something, when you're ovulating, that's the best time to go out and make those sales and stuff like that, because you're just on it. You're much more personable during this time. And you're ready to just be out there in the world, like, hey, kind of like the full moon. Everybody sees it, it's just out there shining, being its best version of itself. So after ovulation, we move into the luteal phase. And the luteal phase is kind of like the waning move. So once the full moon is full, you'll notice it starts to like wane down. During this time, this is a time that a lot of people experience PMS, PMDD, and things like that, emotional imbalances and stuff. And a lot of it is because just like the waning moon is slowly starting to disappear, our hormones are slowly starting to go back down to prepare for a period and the new moon. So during this time, when it comes to food, for example, eating slow burning carbs, eating like things like sweet potato and barley, um, let's see here, brown rice. During that time, that is the best time to like eat foods that are going to like really nourish you in your body, that are really going to prevent any sugar cravings, because that's what else also happens a lot during this time, because your body needs more calories. You also might feel not as much energy as you did during ovulation. So a lot of people want to like up the caffeine and things like that, which will completely throw off what your hormones are trying to do, which is decreasing. So during that time, you definitely want to eat slow burning carbs. Be okay with, eating a little extra during this time, because your body needs the extra calories as, to kind of get more energy to kind of get through your day. Because unfortunately, we live in a society that doesn't allow us to just like, oh, I'm on my period, I can't do anything at all, or I'm PMSing, so I'm just going to stay at home. We definitely do want to set boundaries during this time, because we know our energy isn't as accessible as it was when we were ovulating in the follicular phase. But we know that we can't completely stop, like the world doesn't completely stop. So eating foods that are really going to nourish you fully and burn slow will help with honoring your internal cycles during the luteal phase. So next is building emotional intelligence. One way that we heal our womb space is through connecting and holding space for tough feelings and thought processes. It's connecting with our highest self, right? When we connect with our highest self, we are connecting with the four C's. We're caring, we're compassionate with ourselves, we're connected, we're curious as to these things that are coming up for us. So I wrote, compassionately working through old thought processes and replacing them with new ones with curiosity and care, and recognizing the physical, spiritual connections of our womb space. So when we're able to reflect in a way that is helpful, in a way that is curious, and that in a way that we're kind of sitting in, I kind of see us sitting on a throne, right? And connected to our highest self. And everything that's going on around us is not affecting us, right? Because we're on this throne and we're looking at all these things, right? And all these the heavy emotions, the way people are acting towards us or towards other people, and we're able to look at it and hold compassion for it. We're able to connect with it, but not get soaked up into it, right? Because when we come from a place of our highest self and from the four C's, we can better see what's happening and like work through it in a way that doesn't drag us down, in a way that doesn't completely deter us into these old habits that weren't serving us. And then everyday rituals. So a lot of times when people think rituals, I do think we think of like I have to have all the spiritual tools. I have to have, the entire apothecary in my house, all the spiritual texts. But creating everyday rituals is very simple. And the point is really just to ignite the heart space, to ground you in your womb and help you birth your life into wellness through envisioning, through speaking words and intentions. So everyday rituals are they're quick, they're attuned to our personal needs, and they use what we already have on hand. And when we fall off from these rituals, they can help us bring us back to our center. Everyday rituals can be something that just happens for 5 minutes first thing in the morning, 30 minutes to an hour at the end of your day. Somewhere, you could find a way to fit it in somewhere within your life. Um, and that's the beautiful thing about them, right? And so when we create these rituals that help us to be one with ourselves, to connect back, kind of like in this past page when I talk about our higher self, when we create these rituals that help us connect to our higher self, we're better able to connect with our womb wellness. Oh, another thing too, everyday rituals helps us to kind of embody who and what it is that we want to be, how we want to feel, right? So that's why for me, like my everyday ritual is in the morning, setting up my home and setting up my space for the day. It starts with, for example, I'll use myself. Was something that I really struggle with sometimes is not getting on my phone first thing in the morning because I noticed that when I would wake up, before I would even know if my legs worked, I would be on social media, right? And then I noticed those days that I start my day off on social media, I was like addicted all day long, like on my phone, on social media all day long. Like it was hard to get anything else accomplished, right? But the days where I don't get on the internet when I first wake up in the morning. Don't check my email. And I immediately just take a couple breaths, or I allow myself to just get through my morning routine, which is, of course, brushing my teeth, putting clothes on, having breakfast, and it'll look different for whoever. But for me, it's definitely just trying to get out my basic self care and feed myself before I even look at my phone or before I even answer an email, answer a text, or anything like that. Once I do that, then I'll look at my phone. And I noticed like social media isn't as important. Once I've done that, I feel like I can be more focused because my ritual sets the intention that I'm focusing on myself today, that I'm focusing on taking care of my needs, that I'm focusing on listening to my body. So that's an example of my everyday ritual. Again, I use things that are already around my house. So part of it is when I first wake up, having some water. So I keep water next to my bed. Part of my ritual is just, I like to pray in my bathroom while I'm getting ready. I don't, you can have a small altar in your bathroom if you want, light a candle, do a prayer if you would like. I love essential oils. So I like when my house smells good. So I just put some essential oils on the diffuser to like set the day and set the pace of my day. And I notice that my whole day kind of falls in line with that energy that I brought to it. So instead of starting my day with the chaos of social media, looking at other people's lives, looking at the what's going on in the world because it's always something, I don't bring that into my day, at least not at first. I create space for it throughout the day at a specific time. Non-toxic living was another point. So creating an environment that is safe for our endocrine system. So the goal of this is to kind of remove endocrine disrupting chemicals from your home. So EDCs are substances that cause adverse health effects by altering the function of the endocrine and hormonal system. EDCs have been linked to increased risk of women's health conditions such as PCOS and endometriosis. So removing toxicity from our environment can be affordable and easily accessible and really can benefit the entire family and your entire household. And finally, earth womb medicine, creating a personal relationship with the herbal medicine the earth has to offer. So there's so many things that the earth provides for us that we can use to heal ourselves. So many herbs, so many remedies to heal. And then when it comes to restoring our wombs using herbal remedies, womb wisdom teaches us how to align the energies of a few herbal plants with our personal energy and what our personal needs are. So what I mean by that is, you can go through and read all the books about all the herbs and use all the herbs in your teas and things like that. But with one of the beautiful things about earth womb medicine and connecting with your womb and your internal cycles is just finding a few herbs, finding a few things that come from earth, from the womb's earth, to connect with to help heal our internal womb. So, for example, my three go to herbs for myself personally is turmeric, cacao, and rose. Those three, I swear, no matter what is going on in my life, I can find a way to incorporate those three to healing physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Spiritually, physically, emotionally myself. And I've created relationships with these herbs, and that I know that like when I take these herbs, they're helping me on a lot of different levels, right? So, earth womb medicine is that, right? It's connecting with the earth. It's connecting with the medicine that she has to provide, but in a way that is sustainable, in a way that is tangible, and that is also respectful of the earth. Um, because a lot of times we want to like over harvest. We have this big thing within the spiritual community that, like, for example, sage, like everybody wants some sage in their home, but little do people know that sage is becoming, outsourced. There's not enough, to go around because of this like overconsumption of it. But when we just choose to find what's in our community, what's within our home, what's easy for us to have access to, we can use those things to connect with. So, for example, the reason why I like rose is my great grandmother grew roses in her backyard. We're putting a rose bush out in front of my yard. So it's very easily accessible for me to get roses in a way that is healthy for the earth. And then my cacao, when I of course, I'm not in a region for cacao, but the people that I purchase my herbs, the cacao from, they make sure that it's sustainably sourced, right? So, yeah, earth womb medicine is connecting with the earth in your environment around you to help heal your body. So, now that I've given you the 5 steps to womb wellness, it's time for you to incorporate those into your life, right? And I'm definitely here to support you on that. So if you are 25% ready, you're like, I like these steps. I'm still a little like unsure if that's how I want to fully move forward with my womb wellness. That's totally fine. If you're at 25%, my suggestion for you is just really start to build a relationship with your womb through connecting with your womb, holding your womb, breathing, breathing into the womb space, into the heart space, and begin to journal anything that comes up and have a conversation with her, ask her what she needs, what she doesn't need. When you find yourself, PMSing, or you find yourself out of tune, stop, breathe. What do I need right now? And being open to communicating that with yourself and others. If you're 50% ready for like completely healing your womb, embodying your womb wellness, join our Facebook community. We'll have monthly womb circles that you can join, excuse me, and connect with other people with wombs who are also on the same journey of healing their wombs. And now, if you're 100% ready to commit and take those 5 steps that I just gave you and really strategize a womb wellness plan and put those 5 steps into actions in your everyday life, book a clarity call with me. It's completely free. You'll get a link in the bio, or you'll get a link for it in the email for this course for the course to book this clarity call. But yeah, it's pretty much a free 45-minute session where we'll pretty much strategize a personalized womb wellness plan for you and get you ready to go to applying those 5 steps into your life. So again, the Facebook community is Light as a Feather Womb Wellness Collective. My Instagram is at Light as a Feather 42 if you're not already following me on there. And then the website to book is www.yonisteamdenver.com. So yes, please keep in touch. Again, thank you so much for downloading and joining this course. I hope you learned a lot. I would love to get your feedback on the course. And of course, I would really love to talk to you over a clarity call to begin your womb wellness journey and bringing those 5 steps into your womb wellness and into your life.